G'day traders, we're going to wrap up of Thursday, the 3rd of May. So here's the candle here on the daily charts that we're looking at. You can see again it's come down and tested this fairly strong support area that the buyers have been holding for the last little while. There's, it was resistance, it's now become support. It even got down, fairly low. It still technically is holding, but it did push down the further it has for a while. But basically, I mean, that's all in hindsight. We hadn't seen that yet. When this cash market opened, we had a little bit of a red candle there. And the way I approached it, pretty much the same with what we've been doing all through this area and even through all this area, thinking it's it's kind of 50-50. Both sides seem to be having a go at it most days until we get some sort of break of an area. Then you'll see that side of the market just continue and push all in one direction. But while these support and resistance areas are holding, we're getting both directions coming to the market. And what I've been doing while it's sitting above support, so for example this area here, you've got to stick with more of the buyers, whereas this area here, more of the sellers. So here, maybe a little bit more favour to the buyers, but as I'll explain in a sec, if happy to take the buyers, but if the sells were coming, especially down near this support area, just to be very careful and realise that this market has been many times it has bounced off, and it's quite a strong support area. The buyers were coming back in. So let's have a look. Basically, the market, exactly did that. The sellers came in. The other markets were pushing down quite strongly as well. So there was definitely some pressure on the downside. So we're pushing down, then we get this bounce here. Looking at this bounce here is kind of like a true fail on the 5-minute, or over here, you can see this is a retracement power point on the 1-minute chart. So both lined up in fairly similar areas. Couple of things, these two areas had going for it was the fact that it lined up with this little bit of resistance here from the bottom of this previous push down. The other markets also weren't retracing with any sort of pressure, meaning like if you see the market and you want to take a power point, what you want to see is the other markets hanging low or staying low without retracing with any sort of pressure, indicating that maybe a new trend's coming. So that that's what it did have going for it. However, the one big cross in my mind, and why I wouldn't be interested in areas like this, is like we talked about, it's bouncing off this very significant support that the buyers have done multiple times of recent times, and for that reason you're going to get a bit of a bounce here. So you can see the PowerPoint tried to have a go, but from there both these areas on the 5-minute chart and the 1-minute chart failed, and from there the market pushed quite higher. So the market started pushing up. Then we got this 5-minute sell here. So when this 5-minute sell came, other markets at the immediate time of the signal were starting to really push down. So that's something I guess had in its favour. But again, I was a bit hesitant with the sellers after seeing this area start to push higher. If you also look at the Russell through this uptrend, or this little push up here, it was starting to really get some momentum on the upside. It kind of pushed up, came back, and then pushed up, and it was breaking higher again. So for that reason, I thought there's a little bit of buy pressure here, and just an area that possibly might not hold or push lower from. But in the end, it did. I guess the one thing it did have going for it was this particular day. I don't know if you realise, but it's an exact replica of the day before. So Wednesday we pushed down, bounced, came down, got basically a 5-minute sell here, but from there pushed up and went high on the way we went the buyers. This day the exact same situations happened. I guess the sellers have come back again and they've had a second go, but this time they've applied a little bit more pressure and have got their way. So that's the one thing going for it, but still, I think it was a 50-50 area, just because of the fact of the dailies and the other markets were creating a fair bit of pressure on the upside just around here. Because it's always about having, I guess, a broader interpretation of these markets rather than just looking at the immediate markets or just the one market. What it's doing, you want to incorporate, the dailies, the other markets, and what helps makes the best decisions. And most of the time will work in your favour. This particular one, it obviously did work, but I was happy to leave it just because of all the reasons, dailies and other markets and things like that. From there we push down lower. This area here, I guess you're always going to get sort of a bounce. It's very unlikely to break down from here, just because you can see the predictors cross right up here, so there's not a lot of pressure once we're down here. This candle's very extended, so at some stage it's going to get a bounce. Where I do like breakouts is this area here, as long as the other markets are breaking as well. So I want to see a new trend. So basically this is a new trend. It's the third trend. We've got sellers to start off with. We pushed up here because this true fade failed and basically the markets broke up. You've got to consider this a real go from the buyers. Then the sellers have come back. So here's the first push down from the sellers in this new trend, forming a shoulder. So the first pullback, and away they go again. And as long as you've got the predictive crossing down near the cash market lows, and if you're seeing other markets break, then normally it's a good area to really go with. But the one again with this one, the only thing that you'd be hesitant on is because it's that support area that we're talking about on the dailies. But it was the third time, so if it's coming back a third time, there's certainly uh, indicating that they're really having a go and want to break down. From there, we broke lower. I wasn't actually here for the afternoons to see it live, but so I can't really make a judgment as far as seeing the other markets live and things like that. But just from looking at it, the sellers look quite good around this area here. When I'm looking at this area here, this bit of a sideways or almost a holding formation that the ES is trying to form. I'm looking at the Russell, and it didn't really have any of that sort of thing. It was certainly wasn't pushing back and looking like any buyers were going to come or anything like that. So this little bit of a push up here would have been probably pretty hard to see coming, just because the other markets were trying to stick low. And I guess once we did break that bit of a support area, which is 1390, even around 1387, it's giving the sellers a little bit of confidence, and they're starting to almost break down into their territory. So come Friday, it'll be an interesting day. Let's see what the pre-market's done. So yeah, we're sticking around this 1384 area. So the sellers are gaining some momentum. We'll see what happens. As for the 1 minute chart, just to quickly go over it. So obviously we've got this push down here. Here's this first retracement PowerPoint, which was a bit dangerous, a bit risky, just because of the daily situation. The other markets breaking to the upside. From there, you can see this Viper second PowerPoint upsides eventually held, and from there we've pushed lower. I mean, this could have got a bounce. If the buyers were truly strong and really assert their pressure like they have done with all the dailies and everything like that. And this PowerPoint would have held yesterday, but in this particular case we've broken down through it. From there we've come back to this daily support area, and you can see it's really gone sideways, and then it's come up a bit and fallen a bit of shoulder and come back down at this PowerPoint here. So this PowerPoint, as far as a fade, again, I didn't see it live, but the fact is we've gone sideways, fallen a bit of shoulder and come back down. So if other markets were breaking down this stage here, this would have been not a bad one to look at. Whether it would have just been stopped down, I'm not sure. I think it would have just got the money anyway. From there, we pushed a little bit lower. We've got this sideways market. Had a little bit of a go at the upside just right at the end, but nothing serious. And from there, it's held low and sticking, right on the support, or even a little bit under the support. That's a wrap up for Thursday. I'll speak to you guys on Friday.